Well, hello everyone. Good afternoon. It's right after about 1:01, and I am excited, you guys. We have a huge well, at least I call this a well, a guy that's done over 30 million consistently the last few years and has built a team. And so for those of you who have ever thought about building a team or how do you increase your production, and you really want to know how do you take it to the next level, you're about to learn from a guy who has put in all kinds of systems and added so much value here to EXP and to Freedom Team since coming on board. So excited to spend some time here with Mr. Shaune Corbett. We will be right back here in just a minute, in about 30 seconds. Well, hello there, Mr. Shaune. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you, Shaune?
Good, good, good. We got Shaune and Shaune on here. Just I got the better spelling than yours, but they're both good. Well, hey, man, I sincerely appreciate you taking a few minutes with us, and hopefully whoever might be viewing this today or any point in the future, we can add some value to you and your business as well. So let's kind of kick things off, Shaune, and maybe just tell us a little bit about you, your background, kind of what first got you into real estate. Just maybe let's start right there, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. So it's common, right? We talk to people about how they get into real estate, especially those who've been selling a lot. And I think for most of us, we all have a different, background. Everything's always unusual or unique. I'll tell you kind of quickly how I came into it. I don't actually know why I'm selling real estate, but that's what I ended up doing. I could have probably done a lot of other things, but it made sense. There are opportunities that made sense. It made sense with some of my skill sets, and I've been able to really maximize it. I went to college. I got a degree in HR. I worked in HR for about 10 years, human resources. I ended up going up to about a vice president of human resources for a company here in South Lake, Texas. And that company owned a custom home building company. And we sold $1 million houses, right? So I made him an offer. I said, let me sell your houses that you have, and I'll sell them for free if you will pay for my license, pay for my broker license, pay for all my expenses. And I'm happy to list them, and I'll bring you buyers, and then we'll negotiate from there. So that's really kind of how I got started in real estate, just initially. I didn't go work for Keller Williams. I didn't go work for some other brokerage. No one set up
that, Shaune? What year did you get started?
I got my license 05, and then I took a year off. I parked it with an apartment locator just to wait. So back in the time, all you had to do was wait 2 years and you can go take your broker's license. So I was kind of just buying time. And I was like, well, I might as well make use of it. I've got it right. I'm a pretty sharp guy. I'll figure out how to sell a house. So I went ahead and joined a brokerage, small local guy, and really didn't give me much input. There was no, this is what we do. This is how we show houses. This is how we sell. Nothing. I had to just kind of figure it out. And I did that for an additional 2 years. So 05 to 08, 3 years. And then on my third year, I opened up True West Realty, which is my independent brokerage that I had for about 10 years before I came across, before Eric Golden introduced EXP to me.
Gotcha. And so let's go back to when you first got started. So you're just one of those doers that's going to figure out how to get it done. And I think we all know the stats that well over 80% of agents who get their license are out of the industry in less than 2 to 3 years. So if I were to ask you, what do you think the main differentiating factor is for those who really do make it right out of the gate and end up staying long-term versus those who don't? How would you speak to that?
I mean, having some core skill sets would certainly help. I think anyone that wants to get into selling real estate really should have some level of entrepreneurship about themselves, right? I mean, I'm not calling my agents to get out of bed and sell houses. So you're a 1099, you're on your own. You've got to have some level of, okay, it's time for me to make my phone calls, do my daily processes, set things up, get things, initiated. For me, I worked for another company for years while I had a license. I mean, a lot of people get into real estate that way. And then over time, I started listing houses. I started working with buyers. And then I had agents call me and say, hey, I want to part my license with you. You're a broker. So I just started adding agents, not even intentionally. And then I was like, well, I'll make up a split. I don't know how anyone else does it, but if it were me, this seems fair. And I came up with some type of split with them. And then we just kind of continued to grow. I'd add agent after agent. It wasn't until probably about, I'd say about 7, 8 years ago that I left corporate altogether and I went straight into real estate brokerage 100%. And at that point, I set up formal plans. I only had one agent at the time. I had some come, some go. I had one agent at the time. And then from there, I built it up to about 10 consistently. I would have, two or three come in, I'd have one or two leave. I would sit at about an average of about 10 agents over those next few years, again, before I came across EXP. So,
And so you built, because that's a decent size, small boutique brokerage, 10 agents. Let's speak to that for a minute, because there might be brokers or people who are contemplating getting their brokerage license and maybe even starting their own brokerage. Talk about that for a minute, because obviously you are very, at least from my understanding about you, getting to know you now over the last few years, you're very detailed, very analytical. Obviously, you're going to do what you need to do to figure things out. But what would you say to someone today, knowing what you now know up to this point, literally today, and being over here at EXP, but speaking to someone who's going, I think I want to start my own brokerage. What would you say about that today?
well, I mean, I'm in the cheap seats, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. I can look back and reflect on where I was and where I'm at now. I strongly wouldn't recommend it. I mean, I guess for a lot of different reasons. I know the just the amount of time investment for me to take on all liability, all responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
manage an office, handle advertising, set up commission splits, handle every transaction that comes through, get in the middle of a lot of these deals. There's a lot of emotions that get put into them as well. Um, you know, I cut all of that. Whenever I left being a broker and decided, I mean, basically I'm just kind of like a team lead at this point, but I make a lot more money and I work a lot less hours. You know, I mean, it doesn't. It's kind of like the only reason that I find, and this is just the way I see things,
Okay.
is I do talk to brokers that have 50 plus agents and they don't make any money, but I can't get past their ego, right? Whenever I was set up my own brokerage, I already have all the answers. No one needs to talk to me about real estate. And
Yeah.
and man, every time I have these conversations with them, just say, hey, have you looked at other ways of doing it versus being the only one that's responsible for everything? You can make more money and not have to be responsible for everything, but you have to give up, your 100% control of everything. And for me, I got to that point. It was the right place, right time, and I said, I no longer want to be the end answer for everything, and I would rather put more energy into things that I'm really good at than just being the broker of record for my brokerage. And things for me was I do a lot of coaching. I do a lot of teaching. I'm on the phone all the time teaching and coaching because I have the time to do it. And anyone that has a problem in their transaction, I'm available now. Before I was tied to everybody's transaction. So it was no longer, hey, can you help me solve this? It was now we're at a desperation point and now I'm responsible for getting us out of litigation. I don't have those problems anymore. I mean, I solve problems without having to be the broker. It's freeing for me.
So let's narrow this down then right now. So let's assume that we're going to have some brokers looking at this, and or people we know that are brokers that might want to understand what this transition has done for you. So let's speak a little bit more to that and understanding. So you said now you've got a lot more time and you're making a lot more money. So walk us through a little bit, and again, as detailed as you want to get on, just elaborate on that. How have you gained back your time? Be more specific. And how have you been able to cut costs and make more money now that you've transitioned over here to EXP?
Yeah, yeah, sure. I can speak a number of things in regards to that. So I think for the broker that was where I was, 3 years ago before I came to EXP in my particular business, I had, roughly about 10 agents. All of them were full-time agents. I'd provide leads, I'd provide opportunities. I had to provide systems. I had to set them up with web pages. I had to provide them a CRM. All these core things that I have to do as a support mechanism, and I have to be able to be the one that supports everything. I even had to come up with, I had agents asking me for gear, right? Because let's have some True West Realty gear, right? I want shirts and all it. So
Yeah.
now I had to create this advertising brand with gear that, would satisfy all the different things that they were looking for. And, I didn't have, massive team. It's just me, and I had a contract to close coordinator slash admin person that would take care of all my back office stuff. But
Okay.
the amount of time and energy I spent working on setting up things, putting systems in place, being responsible, getting on help desk issues with CRMs and web pages and all these other things, I couldn't put much time and effort into building out and focusing on lead generation and doing coaching calls and developing agents because I spent all my time doing all the back end admin stuff.
So what did life look like back then when you were running this brokerage, True West, before merging here with EXP? What did your weekly life look like then, time-wise? What kind of effort and stuff were you putting into it then?
Well, when your time is absorbed in solving support issues and things like that, when that's now free. I mean, it's hard to like say, I'd spend 10 hours a week doing support back office system issues, and then I might spend another 5 working on brokerage challenges with individual transactions, solving it, getting on the phone with the other broker. I mean, I had to go to, what is it, Metrotex or NAR, whatever their local association. I had to go and do that like 2 or 3 times because I'm the broker of record, and there was a dispute. Those days are over. I had no reason to ever show up to those things unless I'm the procuring cause of the issue, which
Yeah.
is probably not going to happen. I normally can settle things out pretty early. The thing that I think what would be really relatable is that at the time I was personally selling probably about 7-8 million a year.
Okay.
Okay, that's me personally, and I had a agency of agents that were selling probably another 20 to 30 million,
Okay.
overall. So my whole group was probably, 30 to 40 million a year is probably my brokerage. It's probably about pretty even to where I was. I had several that were doing 7, 8 million a year as well as me. So I would always float in there, doing about the same volume as my top producers in my brokerage. And
Okay.
in every agent that ever came to work with me, all of them came from zero. They'd never sold real estate in their life. They went to selling $7, 8 million a year, which gives me a lot of confidence in me coaching and teaching others how to sell real estate. That made it a lot more, you know, easier for me to make that transition into just focusing on helping agents sell a lot of real estate, right?
Yeah.
But when I left when I left True West as a brokerage and I dissolved it being the broker of record and came over, my first year, I did another 10 million over my highest year ever. And I
By
did it
freeing
personally.
up the time that you
Yeah.
had, you now could focus on some of your production.
Yeah, so KV Core handles all my CRM issues and concerns. It's set up a team module. It's probably the best CRM available to agents on the market, and they offer it incredibly cheap. It's free for agents, and then me, I think it's $500 a month. It would be hard for an independent broker to spend less than $2,000 to $3,000 a month to have some type of CRM that offers the web page support and all the other benefits that EXP offers through KV Core. I was spending about $2,500 a month on my CRM. That's an instant pay raise, right? I mean, those type of things really started adding into, so I become a lot more profitable when I don't have to have all this liability. I kept my office because I can leverage that with agents, and I do other things through my office that are in conjunction of real estate. It's just beneficial to me.
Yeah.
But by coming over, the only expense I had was $85 a month, and then I had the $500 team module for KV Core. I didn't have to pay for an office, right? There's no office expenses with EXP. I just choose to have one. There's no admin. I'm not paying for advertising, you
Yeah.
know. And it's what I teach people, right? So you can work at a brand and everything. You're going to pay for the brand. The problem is that brand will never sell real estate for you. Agents sell real estate. Brokers do not sell real estate. That's a big misconception that people have. And I tell people, I said, if you don't believe me, when you leave, because you will, when you leave, you're going to take your listings, you're going to take your buyers and your sellers, and whenever they're ready to do another transaction, they are not calling your broker. They're
Yeah.
calling you. Agents control the transactions. Agents sell real estate. Brokers do not. That's a big misconception that is real hard to get through to a lot of people. They think that offices are selling real estate, broker names are selling real estate, and they don't. They don't sell any real estate.
So, and first of all, appreciate all that. This is great info. So, your agents, when you approach them about this model, how did they first Did they accept it right out of the gate, or what were the main reasons why they wanted to come over with you here at EXP?
Well, I mentioned that it was the right place, right time for me. I didn't really give them a lot of options. I gave them 1 week. I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I wouldn't. I probably should have given everyone a lot more opportunity to review how the model works, how the transition would look, what the new opportunities would be. But I made a transition, and I only, out of everybody, I only took two. Okay,
oh, you only brought 2 with you,
I only brought two over.
and what's the
That
reason
was
for that?
because of, yeah, it was my aggressive. I knew I was out, and I was at that point in the year. I'm on my fifth rendition of my commission split. Right, I had to change it like every year to make it so it would work for people that were producing, and then work and attract people that were coming in. And I was constantly making this thing, adjusting it, and I was about to roll out, like my fifth rendition in the last 5 years. And I just decided, you know what, I'm scrapping all of it. I'm going to make this move. I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to see it. And if you want to join, jump in, let's rock and roll. If not, then you'll all have to find other places to go. And a lot of them went to flat fee agency options, right? Because if you know how to sell real estate, that's one of the decisions you can make at that point is I no longer really am going to appreciate the support. But the ironic thing is almost every one of them that made that transition sell less real estate now than they did when they were working with me when I was an independent broker, because they joined a company that offers no support, no opportunities, and there's no one to call to make things happen.
Yeah,
Nobody,
yeah.
and a lot of them were still calling me to solve real estate problems because that's one of the things that I really enjoy doing. I'm good at it.
So it's got me just kind of going, I would think some of those agents would almost want to pick up the phone and call you back and go, "Can I come back and join you again?"
I have had several had those conversations, right? But it's hard for someone to absorb when they're paying $300 per transaction. They still see direct dollar signs as, I'm saving X number per transaction. What they don't understand is that if they're able to successfully continue to sell the same amount of volume that they are capable of selling, then they can actually be in a position where they can be over 100% with our company, EXP. And I've been over 100% the last 3 years. There's not a place on earth that I know of a brokerage that would actually offer the ability to get all of your cap back, but EXP does offer that.
Yeah.
So it's been really beneficial for me for sure.
And for those who that aren't very familiar with the model, let's talk a little bit further about that, if you wouldn't mind. So you are able to go up over 100%. So are your agents. Let's speak to that. And also, you brought over your same brand. You kept all your branding, right? So it's still True West, brokered by EXP, correct?
It is. Yeah, I made that sign back there, an LED sign. You can barely see it because it's far back there, but it's True West. I made that before I made the move. And it's still True West Realty. Nobody knows me as EXP. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things that people don't understand, right? When I tell you that brokers don't sell real estate, I'm also saying that you have the ability to brand yourself, right? And the reason why that's advantageous is that people still know me as True West, and they have nobody knows EXP as an agency. It's I wouldn't say it as it's invisible, but there's no cost or money put into that brand. It's only available for us to take on the liability and give us a support system so that we as agents can sell real estate. That's
Yeah.
really important as a distinction, because that they can spend billions of dollars on advertising and it won't help me sell any more houses.
Yeah. I
They
agree.
choose to spend nothing, and that's in a direct savings to me as an agent. It's incredibly powerful for me.
And for those who might be viewing this, if you're not aware, in just the last 12 months, eXp Realty has attracted over 400 independent brokerages like Shaune Corbett's was at True West. They've rolled themselves into eXp. So it's happening faster and faster. And I think it's a lot of what you're speaking to, the value now that agents can have, reduce the liability, reduce the expenses. And so you've now built it back up from a couple agents. You now have how many on your team now?
A little over 30.
A little over 30 agents.
Yeah, and the most I've ever had was 10. And here's another really big distinction. I want people to
Okay.
really appreciate this. So, I don't know how other teams work at EXP, but I can tell you from my experience, when I had about 10 agents as an independent broker, I would have, two or three come in, two or three leave, two or three come in, two or three leave. I couldn't retain them no matter what I gave them, what split. And I just couldn't retain them,
Okay.
because there's always a greener pasture when I'm the independent broker, right? There always is.
Yeah.
But being here, I've brought in over 30, and I think I've only had about 3 or 4 leave in 3 years. You
Yeah.
know, the turnover rate just has not existed for me. Now, I don't know other people's experience. I'm just saying, like, for me, what's really good for me is that I like to spend a lot of time coaching and developing and growing people. That means that every time I do it, I have a high probability they're going to stay,
Yeah.
because they have retention things built into the system, right? It's stocks, it's rep share, it's health insurance, it's the EXP world, which is available at any time to jump on and get live answers to questions. All these things are available for to help you in retention, and I don't have to have all the admin back office answers because they have systems and things built in to help us.
So you kind of already answered this question. Tell me if you can elaborate it. But if I were to ask you, at any point, did you ever feel stuck in your business prior to joining EXP? And if so, how did making the move to EXP solve the problem? You've kind of spoken to some. Is there anything else you could add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think as independent brokers, I think most will understand there's a certain point in time where, as the broker owner, can get out of production, right? And it's somewhere, from what I hear, is a 40, 50 agents, somewhere in that range. You can probably pull yourself out of production, replace your income with the volume and things coming from all of your agents. Anything prior to that, you're stuck selling real estate. I never left production. I was more than half my company's income, and I wasn't ever able to escape that. But now I'm just my own independent agent. All the agents that are joined me, some of them are in my group, some of them are just in my rev share, and we have different types of connections. But for me, I'm not attached to them and my profitability like I was as an independent broker. That was a big difference. My profitability really took off when I cut, all those expenses, my CRM, my just the different support benefits that I was offering all of the agents. I cut all of it. I even had this online training thing that people could click on and take classes and stuff. I was paying for that. I don't need it. EXP has
Yeah.
way better training than anything I could pay for. I mean, it wouldn't even close. So that was gone too.
So when you're running before joining EXP with your brokerage, you had 10 agents and you had this turntable, people going in, coming out, it's nonstop. Now you've made the move over. You've grown it from 10 to 30. From me talking to you prior to us jumping on here over the past few months when you and I have spoken, you have now systemized, you've got your time and all that back. How much of that has to do with EXP, the framework, the brokerage, the Freedom Team? A lot of folks said, if you're looking at this right now, we have created a group or an organization within EXP called the Freedom Team. Shaune Corbett and I are both a part of that. So talk for just a minute about what have you done? Because I think independents would really want to know, how in the world did you go from 10 agents and having trouble keeping them to coming over here? You bought more time back, you're making more money, and now you've grown it to 30 agents. What are some of the distinctions of what made that happen and what life looks like today for you versus just a few years ago?
Well, one note is I went from 2 agents because I only had 2 come over,
True. Okay.
to 30, right? So I didn't bring them over. They had a short amount of time to make a decision. A lot of them did leave.
Okay.
I think the amount of time that I have to spend managing a brokerage is just about completely gone. I think what it is, and here's another thing that kind of helped put things in perspective. I have a choice now, right? I can choose to pour in and build a team, which we can pretend like is like a brokerage without any of the liability.
Yeah.
I've made a choice to do that, right? So I've taken a lot of my emphasis off of direct production into working and training and developing agents. I meet with them every week. I give them open houses. I have a business that really focuses on off market type properties that I bring in, I renovate, and then I list and I allow my agents to do open houses. I do certain things like that as a way for me to give back to my agents opportunities. That's something that I do personally. That's not necessarily a duplicatable thing, but it's something that I do, and it helps me continue to stay in front of them. But during my training classes, all of it is directly with how do I win offers? How do we do open houses? How do we sell more real estate without spending more money? Those are the topics that I specifically address on my Tuesday calls. Um, but because of the way I built a system is I've gone from, doing 7, 8 independently to 17 my first year to 32 my second year. And then this last year I did right over 37 million or so last year. And I should break another 30 million this year. So it's really allowed me just to put a lot more time into things that I can reproduce. Now, as far as talking about efficiency and things like that,
Yeah.
I believe that you should have support staff on ways. Okay, so I'll give you the general thought, right? I believe agents make more money, right, writing and negotiating contracts, doing listing appointments, and showing houses. I think that's where they can, as a agent, that's what you're responsible for and you're entitled to do, and that's what you need to give back to your clients. Everything else can almost all be done by someone that is not licensed. So I try to focus on things where I make the most money per hour on the activities that I do. And those are the things that I coach with my agents. I think that anyone that's in real estate should all really focus on those type of things that actually make them the most money per hour. And one of the ways that we build, right, is we start with multiple streams of referral sources. I give several myself. Of course, you've got your sphere. Of course, you've got open houses. You've got different sources like that. We're going to have multiple lines. And then eventually our goal is to get out of this pay-per lead type of scenario and then get into a referral only scenario, right? So
Yeah.
the system is with me, we start with capping, right? Capping means you hit $16,000 on an 80-20 split. And then the second year or the third year, we're going to focus on trying to icon. Icon means that $16,000 that you've paid on the cap, or they're going to give back to you in stock, right? And
Yeah.
then about the fourth, fifth year, we're going to go in our referral only business. That's where things change. Now we talk about my management of time. I primarily only work about 6 hours a day. I don't work weekends and evenings. I think that's really hard for agents to even swallow or understand that. And I'll tell you, it's a principle that started this way back when I got my license. The principle was, and I learned this in class, right? I retain things really well, and then I hang on and I make it a part of my business model. One of the things the instructor said is you can determine when your work schedule is. It doesn't have to be at the mercy of your client. So when I have conversations with my clients, I tell them, hey, here's the 3 houses we need to take a look at. Let's go from 3 to 5 on Thursday. And I don't say, when can you go, right?
I got
Because
you.
the moment you do that, it puts all of the control on them on your schedule. I don't know about you guys, but I've got 3 little kids and I have things that I cannot just say no to everybody so I can run out and show houses. That's not a good work balance. So being able to determine and write a schedule that's going to be effective for you and your family is really critical. And that's one of the ways I've been able to overcome that, is I've always been able to set that up. The second thing I would recommend is get you some investors, because you can do one transaction and then you can turn it into many without a whole lot of interaction. It allows me to do a lot of sales and a lot of transactions with minimum time involvement. I think that's a recommendation I would have for most of you.
So find an investor who almost chooses you exclusively with their homes and so forth. So that's just that constant stream that you're not having to go and create these new leads and so forth. They're coming to you from one investor.
Yeah, I mean, I get to the point sometimes I'll sell houses and I'll not even go to the house. I don't even. I can even text agents and negotiate contracts through text. I don't recommend that. I'm just telling you, like, it gets so efficient that I can make an entire deal work on the minimum amount of time you can possibly come up with.
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes a lot of time and practice to get to that point. But for your average agent that has an investor, the idea is let's give them good service, even if you maybe make a discount on it or whatever it is, right? Because
Yeah.
the objective is we're going to do it multiple times, where your average retail client is one time every 7 years. Big win there.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we'll wrap this up right now. We're about a half hour into it. We sincerely appreciate your time. It's been a lot of great info. If there was somebody maybe that's checking out EXP and maybe they're on the fence, whether or not they're a solo agent, whether they're new, whether they're experienced, what would you say to them about why they maybe should make the move Devices are not connected. Sorry about that, gang. We somehow disconnected. You know what? I will wrap up the show right now. Sorry about not getting that last question answered, but let's go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you, Mr. Shaune Corbett. I know you'll have a chance to go back and see this again. And if you're an independent out there, you're looking at this and/or you want more info, not only is Shaune Corbett part of our organization, we have hundreds of independents that have come over and joined us. We have an organization now of about 2,500 agents. And there's several agents now, like I said, probably 100 plus that are like Mr. Shaune Corbett that have rolled themselves in. Looks like we got him coming back. Some reason it's not bringing him back in. So again, let me wrap back up. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Shaune Corbett. We'd be more than happy to help answer any questions you have, help you really evaluate the model. If that's something you'd like to do with zero pressure, we can line them up side by side. Be more than happy to run spreadsheets and really let you analyze the numbers. And I would highly recommend, if you're an independent, you're giving this any kind of thought, let us know. Let's set something up between us, EXP, and a lot of the independents that have made the move. We're all here to support you, walk you through what we've done, what's it like. We can talk to your agents. We can talk to your brokerage, whatever we could do to help you fully understand what this model could do for you and your agents. Because if you truly, truly care about your agents, this is a model that can set them up with three streams of income, help them get on a path where they could eventually get to retirement. And let me see if by chance I can get Shaune back in here. Yeah, I was kind of wrapping up here, Shaune, but I'm going to throw you back maybe that last question. I was just telling everybody about if they have any questions, they can reach out to you, reach out to me. If I asked you one last question to kind of wrap this up, the Freedom Team, right? So we have now within EXP, we have created a team of us that come together. This isn't a traditional team where we're getting overrides. It's all of us coming together, camaraderie, culture, and helping one another. If you could speak to just for a minute, the Freedom Team and what kind of value you think that's adding to you and your organization.
Yeah, one of the things that people get concerned about, right, about our type of virtual model is that they get disconnected and there's not somewhere to go to for support and help. So this is one of those really clever, thing that we put together, right? So Shaune's the one that primarily is kind of over the entire Freedom Team. He's got thousands of people in there, and there's numerous icon agents like myself that will get in there and will speak to any particular topic. We've talked about short sales and foreclosures and VRBOs and how to have the best possible open house without spending money. We have all these topics coming from people that actually have done it and have sold a lot of real estate in the process of doing it. Having that available, to agents that are new or just don't know specifically where to plug into, it's all available. And honestly, even if you're not at EXP, I don't think there'd be a problem for you to jump in and kind of see what we have going on. I mean, it's an easy thing to be able to see kind of from the experts how they're selling real estate. And one of the things that's really cool is that we're very transparent, right? I mean, it's not, I'm not competing with any of these agents. We all share what we're actually doing that's selling more real estate. In most markets where you have these franchises and you've got several hundred people in the same office, they're all competing with each other.
Yeah.
EXP doesn't have that because we don't have a franchise-based model, and none of the people on the calls I'm even competing with. Most of the time, they're not even in my group here in Dallas-Fort Worth, right? I mean, they're just all over selling real estate, but the same principles they use there, they work here.
Yeah. And I think if we added to that for all of you that maybe are not familiar with the model, because one of the three ways we pay you is in equity, our company gives stock out 5 different ways for doing things you're already doing in real estate, which really, as an independent broker, if you're looking at this, not only could that be extremely beneficial for you and your family and what it could do for potential retirement, but for all of your agents, the same exact thing is available to them. By doing what they're doing, they're going to slowly start to build up a potential retirement exit plan, or at least to the point one day where maybe they can pull back the throttle on some of their own personal production. Why? Because these other 2 revenue streams are starting to possibly or potentially replace their transactional volume. So incredible model. We obviously ask you guys to check it out if you're open to seeing what this could do for you. Other than that, you guys, thank you so much. I'm going to just play this video here, this last 30 seconds. I hope every one of you have a wonderful and blessed weekend. Thank you for checking this out.